Every journey has an inspiring story behind it, and Effortless Conversations uncovers how that journey has helped our people thrive. Let's get started. So, welcome to Effortless Conversations. This is our Princeton Mortgage podcast where we focus on the employees, the team, the loan officers, and every aspect of Princeton Mortgage, and just have conversations with the team.
Cool.
So, Frederick Lahm III is our guest today. Fred, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I guess like before you were in the mortgage industry, you've been a loan officer with us for a couple years at Princeton Mortgage, but as we know, nobody starts off their career or right out of college or school, high school, whatever, with ambition to be in the mortgage industry. So everybody has some sort of story how they ended up here. What's yours?
I was a drifter. No, I'm kidding. So I went to Temple University in Philadelphia. I was a music major, music education with a focus on jazz studies. And I was there on a full ride. So even though I lived in Philly, I still lived on campus because they just gave me money to stay there, which was great.
Right.
And then, for side money when I wasn't playing gigs and stuff, I started a job at, Verizon Wireless. So, and I was there for a little bit selling some cell phones, and in 2012, something like that. Yeah, 2012, I went to get my real estate license to become a realtor. And I remember sitting in there, I didn't know nothing. I was 22 at the time. And the person next to me was like, "Oh, I'm just doing this for my boyfriend because he's a mortgage broker. And that's where all the money's at. I'm just going to do this so I can get houses and get in business." I'm like, what's a mortgage? I had no idea.
Right.
So I started looking into that, and then I got my real estate license, but I passed the test, but just didn't, for the third time I passed the test. And then I just never did anything with it because I went and I started, at the time there was, what was the online career something back in the day?
Career Builder.
Career Builder. Went online, and there was a company in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. So I was in Philadelphia at the time. They were hiring Centex Home Equity, Centex Corporation, which was at the time was the number one home builder in the country. So they were offering, it said, mortgage loan originators, come learn entry level, they'll train you. So I interviewed, and it was like all these big dudes in suits and ties and like cubicles, and just it looked like a lot of money. And so I got hired there. I had a good relationship with my manager, and they send you out to, so it wasn't a brokerage, it was a direct lender. So they sent you out to Milwaukee. It was awesome. So we went out there, hung out at the Milwaukee Brewers ballpark out there for 2 weeks, go a week, come back for a weekend, go back out again.
Nice.
They taught you everything you needed to know about mortgages. I remember the first time looking at a screen with the interest rate, the payment, and I'm like, this was like Wall Street to me. I was like, I'll never learn any of this. And then so they taught you the right way. They didn't tell you the hustle bars. They didn't tell you just make the money. They taught you how you save, how you downsize, how you pay off early, what all that means. Came back and started selling, we'll get leads from Lending Tree. And then Centex Corporation started going downhill. They sold into they downsized. They didn't downsize. They were just going through some things. They became Nation Star Home Mortgage, and then now they're Nation Star and something else. Or Pulte Homes is Centex. So from there, I was there for 2 years. I went out and I started at Freedom Mortgage. A group of us went to Freedom Mortgage on a branch style. And so I was at Freedom Mortgage for a couple of years. Then I went to Gateway Funding, which I came there 3 years before they transitioned into Finance of America. So I was there to see what it takes to see. They were 25 years at the time as well. They weren't anywhere where they are now, but they were a pretty big company in Gateway Funding.
Right.
And it was like, hey, new things coming, and they started it. They started a relationship with the Blackstone Group, changed the name to Finance of America seamlessly, it seemed. And then piece by piece started building and building in there. There's massive corporation now. And then in that transition transitional period, I guess I met Rich because I went to broker's open at at a real estate office because my buddy was a branch manager at one of the Wydell offices in Yardley.
Okay.
So I went there in 2017, like the summer. I met Rich, young Rich, unshaved. Rich looked like he was 20 years old. And he just happened to pop in. I had a great conversation with him. He called me the following week. I'm like, I'm cool where I'm at. It's just me and somebody else working. And he shared me a little bit about his vision. And that time, I investigated. I called loan officers at Princeton Mortgage. And for y'all that don't know, Princeton was like a shell. You had like 6 loan officers. The average age was about 110. No, I'm kidding, but it was up there. I mean, they were, age range was probably 50 to 70.
Sure.
They had paper files, as Rich said earlier today. It was still the old ugly green logo with the triangle.
That like diamond triangle thing.
Yeah, 1982 style. And
welcome to Effortless Conversations, the Princeton Mortgage podcast highlighting what makes our company and the housing industry so great. The people. At Princeton Mortgage, we are a team of motivated people who are driven to achieve excellence in our work and reach our full potential while enjoying the journey.
And we went back and forth in his vision to restart the company, and 35 years in. And I was like, yeah, it's great. But at that time, I was newly married. It was 2 years in. 2 years in, we had a new baby. And it was like, I'm safe where I'm at. But I knew where I was at. It was like the growth wasn't possible. I was in P&L branch style, net branch style still.
Yeah.
Where my manager, who had a 12-plus year relationship with me, he was older. So he was looking to just coast, but also didn't really want to spend money, didn't want to expand. He was happy making money where he was making it.
Sure.
So I just thought about it, brought it up to him, and then I was like, I'm just letting you know I'm not doing it, but I wanted to let you know this is what I'm focused on in the future, and let's make some changes here. Oh, yeah, whatever you want to do. And I told Rich that wasn't time. And so 5 months went on and continued to sell loans at Finance of America, the branch I was at in Ben Salem, Pennsylvania. Through this marketing thing that we did, which was very minimal back then, which was like following up every couple months or whatnot. Rich reached back out at the beginning of December. We had a great conversation, came back in again, started talking. Logo changed. It was blue, my favorite color. And Matt Joy at that time, because when I first met Rich, it was like, we're going to probably partner up with these people from Pittsburgh to open up a wholesale division possibly. It was still not signed. Right. So I've been here from like the very, very beginning. Like, so I knew
resurgence.
That. Yeah, before it was even signed, I was kind of involved with Matt. And, it was like, listen, this guy said he was going to do a couple things. He did it. They changed the logo. They rebranded. And at that time, it was just like, come on as an LO. Why not? And I just looked at the pluses and minuses, and I just took the first step. I was like, screw it, I'm out. And I went into Finance of America. I talked to my wife, of course, and she was like, I support you. So I went in. That was like one of the hardest conversations. I don't know if any of y'all I say y'all because my favorite artist always says y'all, Dave Matthews, and I'm not from the South, but I don't know if you all ever had to go like tell somebody that you're really close with, that you worked with, or anything in life, and tell them like, listen, I'm going this direction. I'm out. Peace. Like, it's like breaking out with a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. But I was like one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life because like I spent so much time with this guy. He saw me get married, saw me get engaged. Like just 3 companies together. And, it was so weird, but I had to do it. I manned up and I gave him the option. He was, grumpy old man himself. He was just like, no, I'm staying here. I'm fine. I felt a little bit bad because at the time he was building a house in Florida and he planned on like traveling back and forth, and he was losing income, because I was out. Yeah. But he's well now. He's moved down in Florida permanently. But anyway.
You had to do what was right for you, right?
Yeah, but everything happens for a reason, I mean, good or bad. Really, I took the chance, and I was just an LO when I came here, and the Wydell relationship was a weird one because, like I said, the LOs that were here, I'm in here looking around, they're just like miserable and just like angry at the world, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, he's rebuilding, and it's like, oh, whatever. And I'm just like where you're at now, like you guys are hand filling things out, like you're handing paper files in. That's like, what are you doing? Like, no wonder why you're miserable. You know, you don't even have like a pricing simulator. You have to like call Jim Guggenheim for like what a rate is. Like, this is, what are you doing?
The old
kind of changes, really old.
So what year is this? Is like 2017?
I started in December of 17.
Okay. So in 3 years, you'd say it's like been kind of almost revolutionized, where it's like, if you went in a time machine like 3 years back, you'd look at that company, you'd be like, there's no way it's the same company.
No way. Absolutely not. And just even like, we're finally back, and at least technology, we're right where Finance of America was back then. It's tough to say, but they were a massive company. I mean,
Right.
they got millions and millions of dollars of funding. And they took off, they had they had 2 systems to sell loans in. And, now we're like there, like our marketing team, obviously we're not as big, but we have all the same stuff as any other probably mortgage company out there, which is crazy to think that like 3 years ago it was not like that, 2.5 years ago, whatever it's been. Yeah, almost 3 years. So, yeah, it's completely mind blowing. Like if you had some of the, like, I want to call, because now I went to a branch. I have my own branch now.
Oh man, I was going to get to that.
All right,
you didn't give us the build. You didn't let me get to the build up of it. You just got.
Well, I want to go call these people, even if they're 90 years old, and I love it. There's no discrimination there. I'm just saying, like, if you like doing mortgages, like, come back. Like it's way different than it used to be. And even if you're kind of semi-retired, just because I had a good relationship with all of them before they left.
It seems like different. The company like 2017 prior, I don't think even anybody that was with the company then, except Jim, is like still with the company. In maybe Charlene, and maybe that's Janet, right? Like, I know when I go to like trade shows, or like when I talk to people in the mortgage industry, I'm like, oh, Princeton Mortgage. They're like, oh, I remember like 10 years ago, I hated X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I'm like, dude, it's a different company. Like, those people don't work here. It's like been revolutionized. It's been like a culture shift. Everything's kind of different. And like, that seems to be like what you're saying as well. And you're like, you've witnessed it firsthand. I've kind of jumped in when all this was just kind of starting to roll a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because we had that all hands meeting today with Rich, I mean, he's 100% right with the accolades or lack thereof or negative feedback that he got. I mean, from when I started, that December, March or April of 18, my first opportunity came. Like, I was an LO, just doing my own loans. Anytime you transition from company to company, it's always going to be a shift in production. Yeah. So I was doing probably $1 million to $1.5 million a month, just on my own pace, and just didn't really have the structure to get to the next level. Like, where do I go? But what buttons do I push first? What steps do I take? And an opportunity opened up because your affiliation with Wydell was like, hey, the guy left, who was covering this office. Do you want that opportunity? I was like, hell yeah. It was the number one office at Wydell. And I was so nervous because it was like, all right, it's showtime. Not like nervous in a bad way, just, whatever. And I thought that was a great opportunity, but I quickly learned that, like what Rich was saying, like, you're too young and you don't know what you're doing. Like, I went into that first realtor meeting. There was about 25 realtors in the branch mat and their manager sitting and all. And I was standing there and introduced me, and it was like slingshot, like rocks being thrown, tomatoes. It was like, why do you think you just come here and you think you just don't think you're just stand out there to get business from us? You don't know the past here. You don't know what was going on. It was like, so this whole like, oh, you have an affiliate real estate company. There was not a good connection between affiliates. Just like what Rich was saying, like, he came back. tried to help out and started redoing things, and just you're going to cross streams in Ghostbusters, and you're going to cross the streams, and it's not going to be right. And so there was a lot of rebuilding there on the mortgage side, but then I also had to like push that onto the affiliate side too. So like full spectrum, there was a complete rebuild. Like people didn't even see like the Wydell. I became like connected to all the offices, because everybody just kind of like thinned out. And the people that were here when Mark got involved, which was, I think, was early to 18, and he took over as sales director.
Right.
There was like, I guess there's like 4 other original LOs here, and they were just kind of like looking at numbers. It's like, you had these offices, like you're closing 1 loan a month. Like, you're getting 1 loan a month from these offices. What are you doing? Oh, they don't do business, and they don't. It's just they didn't have the backing from the mortgage company. They didn't have the marketing. They didn't have the idea to go and market and start the cookies. They didn't have any of that. They didn't have support. And so I took the open door and ran with it, and it was a lot of pushback, man. There wasn't some LOs. I remember one time, at the end of 2018, we're sitting in office with Mark, and one LO said, "Of course you're closing loans. Like, I'll trade whatever. If I had all those Wydell loans, I'd be closing." I'm like, dude, you have no idea. The capture rate was like 3% to 5%. So if there was 100 transactions for a Wydell, they were referring maybe 5 to 10 loans.
Right.
That's insane. And so I went, I did it, and like got the capture rate up to like, 20 to 40% a month, just by having stuff behind me. I'm me, but I also like had the opportunity to like, connect.
You put the work in, man. Like I do see like some people like there's that mindset like, oh, Fred gets all the loans. He just sits there and sits back and they roll into his desk or whatever. But it's like, dude, you're like always ordering the post-closing gifts. You're always asking for marketing things. I know you're staying in touch with the realtors. Like, you're doing the legwork. It's not just like you're laying back, And like, I think that is something maybe you hadn't done in the past at like Finance of America, or like
no, they didn't have any of that. Like, because that was like, again, the branch manager, because we're in a branch, and it's a profit and loss, meaning we're corporate, but we're just responsible for all of our own marketing. Like Finance of America, like here, they would pay for marketing if you wanted to. So per LO would be cost per month. He didn't want to do any of that. He was just looking at the bottom lines, and like, so there was no post-marketing gifts to be reimbursed. And even reimbursed, he would be like, "Oh yeah, just give it to me. I'm reimbursed." And he's like going over it with me, like, "What? Like dude, I'm doing this stuff for work, like flyers and this and that, and you're giving me a hard time." And that's one of the main reasons why I left to grow. But yeah, I mean, just it was a lot of work, and a lot of connections to rebuild, a lot of hurt client, like realtors that have worked for Wydell for many, many years, to reconnect with them, reestablish, and at the same time deflect all the negative about Rich. So for those of you that don't know, I mean, Rich is a young guy coming back. He was working in Florida, came back, and Rich was here to help the company, and he got a lot of, well, what does he know about real estate, and what does he not know about more? Nothing. He was 100% transparent that I'm all new to this, but I want to make it work. And he didn't get the same support, I think, in the real estate business side of things as he did with the mortgages. And as you can see now, I mean, they should have listened. That's not a negative thing, but it's a different business, but he just loved the mortgage thing, so he went that direction. But I did a lot of deflecting, a lot of, no, he's not here to hurt the company. And
right. So
aside from trying to build a relationship with a realtor, there's also like, well, you guys were mean to me, basically, like crybaby. Like, there's a lot of like patching of love heart, like broken hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, like, to Rich's defense or whatever, it's like, if you're doing everything the same and the status quo, it's like you are just only going to be pulling in this one loan from this one real estate office. You're only going to be pulling, like, if you don't change anything, you're not going to disrupt anything. So like the way he kind of goes about thinking about things and like how he runs the mortgage industry is like his company is like a lot different from other companies that I've seen because he doesn't have that like experience, but it's like he kind of wants to disrupt things and is not afraid to take those risks because the payoff might be 10 times greater than the risk, and I've seen that. So like how can you speak to like what values he's kind of instilled to the company that has like really seen change or inspired you in your own business, like that you haven't seen at like Finance of America or other companies?
I mean, just what he said today in the meeting, like, we're here to motivate you, like whatever you want to do. If you're motivated and you want to be in the mortgage business, whatever capacity that it is, we're here to support you. And then so when you have people that are working for a mortgage company that just hate being an originator or hate being a processor or hate being somebody in marketing, like they love marketing, but they hate mortgages. Well, what do you like? Why are you here? Like there's no, there's no, there's no like, you're not doing your job well. It's just like, you're probably just not focused on what you want to do. So like, what do you want to do? Let's do it. And so, I mean, I think that's always scary, but yeah, I mean, he holds true to his values of just like, let's find out what you want to do and let's just get there. I don't think Rich has ever said no to me. I don't think Mark has ever said no to me because like, I'm not asking for things that are just like unreasonable. I don't really ask for much, but like, it's always like, yeah, all right, let's see. I'll get right back to you. Let's talk about it. So there's so many things. Like somebody gets hired now in the company, like sees this here, but there's so much growth. There's so many transitional pieces and operations, like Encompass when they, Encompass is our origination system where we put all of our loans in. When we built that out, I'll never forget. It was a snow day. Everything was shut down. It was the first day we were opening up Encompass, and we had a big meeting online. And back then, early 2018, like Teams wasn't, we were kind of all on Skype.
Right, it was still Skype.
It was Skype, and we were just going through Encompass. I had experience with Encompass before, but this company was the first time. It was like, this is where you put the loan number in. This is where you put the loan amount. And just like step by step, it's always been a challenge to just remain cool. And that's probably one of the main things that brought me to the company is because going in it, I knew the goal, which was to restart the company. And as long as Rich's values were where I was values, my values were, I mean, personal values are always going to be different. I'm sure he doesn't believe the same things I believe in or like or not like, but like we have one goal and just like do what's right for the company and just have fun doing it. So that's what like is crazy about him. Like he's never said he was going to do something and didn't do it. And right. Oddly enough, I just brought that up, but that's one of his
right. Do what we say we're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, if you say you're going to, you're going to call 10 realtors today, like do it. And it's like, not like you're in trouble if you didn't do it. It's just like, well, what happened? Well, I got sidetracked. All right, well, let's focus on how not to get sidetracked. There was never like you're bad or you're fired or you're wrong. It's always like, well, listen, all right, let's set your goals for next time. Maybe next time
figure it out.
Yeah, but you set 5 phone calls today. So, yeah, that's like he just says what he's going to do is make some tough decisions. And you're always going to get negative feedback when you're making changes. The one thing I always remember is his values is that, people see one of the things I heard about Rich is like, he's got money, who cares? This is just a toy for him, like, no, like he wants to win. Who cares about the money? He just has a goal of 50,000 loans, right? And he's just going to get there just to prove to himself that he wants to get there and have fun doing it. So I remember at one time it just wasn't working in operations. And there was select people, some that had been with the company for 20 years. And he him and I think Matt Joy, and the team from Pittsburgh came in. So it was him and Matt Joy. They had to let all these people go because Matt at the time was in charge of operations, and he personally went up there like himself. He didn't tell somebody else to do it. He didn't, hide in his office. They had the meeting, and then Rich came up and like talked to them, helped them clear out their desk, if that's the term. And it's just like, I'm like, dude, I wouldn't be able to do it. Like I probably would, but my first instinct is like close the door and just like let me know when they're kind of gone type of thing. Not that that's what I would do, but that's your first instinct. And he didn't. I ran upstairs to see what was going on. He's up there like talking, and this person has been with the company for 20 years. That shows character. That shows like, let's just be honest with each other. Like, this is where we're going. And I don't know if you fit into this because it's not what you want to do. We don't see eye to eye, and those are tough conversations. And look at us now. Like, he's making these hard decisions.
Princeton Mortgage is growing, and we are looking to add motivated individuals in various areas of the company throughout the United States. If you are a mortgage professional looking to advance your career with a company featured in Inc. 5000, Housing Wire, and many other awards and publications, check out our careers page at careers.princetonmortgage.com.
Oh, numbers. I wish that we weren't talking. I'm glad he didn't talk about numbers so much because rates are low and people are going to get business, but you're not going to get business if you don't have a good structure going on. So it should be about like how many people have come onto the team and are still here because of what we're doing. And
right, because you go to 10 other mortgage companies and 9 out of 10 are like having great success right now.
Still killing it.
Rates are incredibly low. They're the lowest they've been in 50 years or whatever.
But if you had the company from 2.5 years ago, there's no way.
Yeah,
you might have had from like $5 million a month. It might be $20 million a month.
Right
now, like there's no way it would be what we're doing if it wasn't for just sticking to the goals, scorecards. What do we do? The 7 geese.
Right.
Sticking to goals, so
all of these tools. So you've talked a lot about the culture and the growth and the history of Princeton Mortgage, I guess, in the last 3 years, which is awesome. What is happening now? Like right now, the sales training, the selling system. What part of that is really like different from other companies or really helping your business?
So like. I've never been a part of a company. This is on my 4th mortgage company, but every mortgage company I've worked for were all big-time players. I mean, even Nation Star Mortgage, they service a lot now, but I mean, Centex was the #1 home builder. Freedom Mortgage is a top 10 mortgage company in the country. Obviously, Finance of America now is top 10. So, like, these are big players, but I never felt the support behind you was like, oh yeah, you're a great loan officer. Thanks, come aboard. And here we got good rates, or we got underwriting. It wasn't like, well, that's cool, but like, let's take you to the next level. So, example would be, I'm sales. I'm 100% commission. Why do I need to be on meetings every day? Why do I need to be doing this? My numbers should speak for themselves. Like, yeah, it's all true. Right? But our Monday call in the morning, we have a call with Mark in the morning. Just gather up what's going on, what's fresh for the week, winners, losers from last week. No, never losers. But like who did what last week. And then we have sales calls on Wednesday and Thursday in the morning for like half hour, 45 minutes. And like some people view that as like what I just said. Like you don't have, I'm sales, I'm 100% commission. Why do I need to be there? Because it keeps you in check, dude. Like, we're all human. Like, it's good to see everybody else. I'm not out on my own island. I can bounce things off of people. Like, you never had that in other companies. You never had, I mean, if we worked inside, and it was like when I was at Centex, we were all had little cubicles, and you would talk. But that's, it's 2020 now. Mm-hmm. And most people are remote. And there's not really call centers anymore. They're all call centers. They're kind of like just like order takers. And so to have a meeting 3 times a week with your entire sales force, it's not mandatory. But I'll tell you, there's anywhere you're on there sometimes, right? There's usually 75% of the sales force that's on there. So we're all checking in just to check out what's going on. Like, what can I learn today?
Yeah.
It's not like you have a bar that's 620 FICO score, and this is how. No, we don't even talk about rates. We just talk about culture, values, how to gain people's trust, how to be yourself in front of other people, and to connect with the people that you probably like to do business with or would like to do business with you. So it's just culture check, man. Not like a corny like
no, I mean it's
on Sunday way. It's kind of just like, dude, we're all in this. So what do you got? What can I learn this week? You know?
Yeah. And it's not always eye-opening. I mean, obviously sometimes he has eye-opening, information, but it's like
I taught him all that.
Sometimes it's like really good reminders. You get so stuck in your way. Maybe loans have been low and you've been ignoring, your realtors because you've been focused on refinances. But like sometimes you got to have these reminders on these sales trainings, like, hey, touch base with your realtors, call them, stay in flow with them. So I think it's really awesome to have that for you guys as a sales team, just to have these like little check-ins, that kind of remind you to do X, Y, and Z. Have you been doing this? And I think they're awesome.
Yeah, like Mark has the only bad thing I could say about Mark is that he's from North Jersey and he's like a Giants fan and all that. Like we don't see eye to eye on that stuff.
Yeah, right. Nobody's perfect, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm from Philadelphia, so clearly we don't see eye to eye on sports, but hometown sports. But like, I've never had a situation with Mark was like, no, you can't do that. So even if it's something that you're on the meeting, so if somebody brings up something minute on that, anybody can speak up. You just bring an idea and like we grow from that. And even if it's an idea that we only hit with one person in the group, well, that person got that idea. And so whenever I would go to Mark for things to help, let's just do it.
Yeah, I get that from him a lot too. Like anytime we have ideas, because he's been overseeing marketing just while Courtney's out on maternity leave, so he's
overseeing everything right now.
Yeah, he's overseeing everything in a nutshell. But we'll throw ideas at him and be like, "Hey, we were thinking about this and this and this," and I feel like I rarely or maybe never hear him say no. It's usually like, "Yeah, let's try it. Let's see what happens." Like it's you don't get a lot of pushback. So I think that's really good to have, especially for like personal growth or like even brand growth, in a mortgage company where it's like, if you're not trying new things, like then you're just staying the same. And I think that's been kind of the message you've been portraying this entire call.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta if you like what you're doing, you just gotta keep on doing it and search for the right thing. But I mean, it also is amazing to see when he came here, and I first met Mark. It was like, oh, North Jersey guy, Giants fan, and then like, yeah, we'll see what happens here, and then just learn about Mark and his experience. Like he just wants everybody. Everybody thinks it's all about money all the time, and money's great, but like, I mean, it's not gonna run out, but it's also gonna be like that's not once you have money coming in, it's awesome, right? Whatever level, whether it's your first job and you're making $30,000 a year and you're out of college and like, holy crap, a couple $1,000s a month, like. Once you get used to a certain tier, like it doesn't, you're just used to it.
Right.
You still have to like what you're doing. And just the fact that like everybody's doing well as far as because they see production numbers up, I'm not talking about monetary. I'm just talking about like everything's up, I mean, we have so many loans and like, we got to do something, we're doing something good. But like, if you don't, I lost my train of thought. So Mark truly just wants to spend time. The money's good, obviously, for him, but he's really involved and he just wants to see it grow. Mm-hmm. Like think about it. He took over like 6 LOs, and that's it. That was the national sales director of 6 LOs.
Right. 2 states or 3 states.
Well, he moved to South Carolina. And then they started that there, And then he just grew it into like marketing was nothing before you got here, really, right? I mean, we got Courtney here who was doing. Who's marketing here before you? Is it just Courtney? No.
Lisa Turquato.
That's it. That was the first hire that Courtney made, and then it was just see it grow and just like into like, well, you need this person now for this, and you need this person for that. It's crazy. In 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, so with this growth, like obviously, like your own personal business. I don't know what number you were at, like in 2017 to now. I mean, maybe you could say that, but like when you were in college 30 years ago, how long ago were you?
20 years ago, dude.
20 years ago. When you were in college 20 years ago playing the jazz saxophone, did you ever think you would be making so much money, doing so much business where like you would have your own branch? Because you alluded to that earlier in the call. You said now you're opening your own branch, and then we kind of jumped away from it.
I don't know. 20 years ago is 20 years ago. I was 20 years old, right? So no, I would just live in the moment, to be honest with you, back in the day. I mean, but when I started in the mortgage business, it was just how many loans I can get, and then it turned to like, what's my future going to be? How do I stabilize that future? And then it was like when I worked with that guy, Stewart. It was like, well, it was a loan-to-loan lifestyle and then to like a month-to-month lifestyle. And there was like a book of business lifestyle. These people were still going to refer you, but it wasn't much of it. And then now, envisioning was like, single Fred before I got married. It was like, we'll make money. And then once you get married, it's kind of like, now you're responsible, and so, that's when I really started to envision, like, I wanted to have my own branch, whether it's 2 people, whether it's 10 people. I have my strengths. I don't think a strength of mine is to be this huge, I don't know, somebody looks up to me. Like, I don't think I'm that guy, where it's like, look at Fred, and you do what Fred does. Like, but I love motivating people. I like being positive with people, and I like helping people. So if that's what it means, getting people that will come up, want to work at the branch with me, not for me, but with me. And that's what I always wanted, because being with Stu for so many years in that same branch style, like I always saw so many things that he could be doing better.
Yeah.
One of them is just like talking to people nice. He liked to be mean to people. He was good at what he did, but he just didn't respect people, and he liked to burn bridges, which wasn't good.
How does that feel, to the apprentice becoming the master, 2020 Fred?
It's good. Like, it's cool. I mean, it's me and Natalia now as my assistant. She's closing loans. You see her grow, and just one minute thing you recommend her to do, or one thing you show her, now she knows. And I have a daughter now, so it's like, that's weird. So like, it's almost like if you could just show somebody one thing and it helps them grow, it's another tool. And that's what I like about that. So,
nice, man. Good luck with it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I wish you all the growth. So I've been asking everybody about this, just kind of really interested about, from any real business point, but our own being the mortgage industry, how has your business had to shift or been adapted to based on like the current situation with the COVID-19 pandemic? Like, obviously things are slowly opening up again. I mean, things are kind of getting back to normal, but obviously everything's changed the last 6 months.
It was such a mess. Like, it was like unorderly, just grasp onto whatever you can hold on to, and just for a moment there. But then once you got like, okay, everything's going to be fine. Like, it's still going to be a mess. Just, you can control it, and what we do in sales is tell people to set people up for expectations. Mm-hmm. So right after the pandemic went down, or started, I should say, and we, it was early March, I think, when we started.
Yeah, like March 15th, I think, was like the day for some reason.
Yeah. And it was kind of just like, set people up. We're fine. Like, this is what it's going to be. Tell them it's going to be issues. Tell them that you're not going to close on time. This is so just setting up expectations, and I think has grown into the only way I think we're able to still grow and maintain our heads on our shoulders is just to expect the unexpected, and it's not shocking. I remember that first month I had a realtor that March 15th, and then there was a March 31st. I think there's 31 days in March, right? 31 days. It was the last day of the month, and I had a realtor screaming at me, a listing agent, because we weren't ready to close at 9:30 in the morning on the last day of the month, in the first pandemic month, because
in 100 years.
Yeah, in 100 years, not because of me, but because like the person buying my buyer's house, something came up, and like she's screaming, and we didn't close the 30th because we actually wound up closing the next day. But like she was coming at us like, your client needs to give $200, $300 because of inconvenience and hotel fees, and like rather than just be like, okay, everything's fine, like we're gonna figure it out, like this is the unknown. She was just yeah. I'm just like, I'm so happy that we're not like that, and that's not. And my clients were totally cool. Like my clients were effective because they were self-employed, and one of the things that we did is cut 25% of income. So, long story short, if anybody cares, what it is like, so we're qualifying our borrower on all their self-employment income and not contingent on selling their home, meaning they were going to have 2 mortgage payments and they were still qualified.
Yeah.
But pandemic hit, they cut 25% of their income, and now we need to pay that house off because they can't afford 2 houses now. So they need to sell that to get this new one. And as stressful as it was, we were cool. We reached out to the other place. They were able to get the house sold. They moved it up 2 weeks. And everybody was on board. It was going to be a mess. And like, I think that if I didn't do that, if I didn't set expectations and just let them know up front what was happening, that's why I think people still come back to me. And I'm just upfront with them all the time.
So you put an emphasis on the word stress there. Like so I know when I was at the office, like you were one of the LOs, maybe one of like the only LOs that was at the office every day. You're like on the road nonstop. So when this pandemic hit and they were like, you can't go anywhere, was that like super stressful for you? Like, how did you manage to like the shift in like work-life balance where like you were stuck at home instead of like you can go to the office or wherever, bounce around like you used to?
Yeah, I mean, it's really stressful because you think that you're not going to be able to see realtors, you're not going to be able to get the business, realtors aren't going to trust you anymore. But I came up with an idea. I said to Mark, it was like early April or end of March, whenever it was. I think it was the first all hands meeting in the pandemic. Was like, I told Mark, I was like, dude, we should be reaching out to these realtors and doing Zoom calls. He said, what do you mean? I'm like, you can't go, so just start setting up these lunches and just invite people and start doing group calls. Nobody's doing it, and don't even talk about rates. Mm-hmm. Just go, hey, realtor A through Z, like, I got something, I just want to bring up what's going on in the mortgage business. And nobody was doing it. Not I'm talking about our company, but just I didn't see anything on Facebook. And I did one video, and then I told him we should tell the team. And he was like, oh, that's incredible. And then we started doing it, and it's just like, it wasn't rates. It wasn't, hey, you need a 550 FICO score. Like, it was just like, hey, these are some changes, but this is what to expect right now. And just make sure you pass this on to your clients. And if you're a listing agent, even if we're not doing the mortgage, like, tell your person, your homeowner, what to expect, because it's going to happen. And like, that just grew, and so many people respected us on that. And nobody was doing it. Now everybody kind of like does it, I guess. But
yeah, I remember you brought that up. I think it was in like a sales training. I remember you said something about it, that you were doing Zoom calls, and that definitely led to, once the pandemic started, we did like 4 or 5 like webinars where Mark was hosting, and it was like talking about mortgage forbearance, just like, and invited every realtor and like all of our like, realtor databases and stuff, sphere of influence and such. And I think like we got a lot of good traction from that, and that was a huge idea. I mean, because now everything's done on Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, let me add to something like that. So you said reach out to the sphere of influence. So like that's one of the things I did. Any other company I've ever, and again, this is only the fourth company, but any person I ever met in sales, when I was at Verizon Wireless selling cell phones at the number one cell phone provider in the country, it was like sell, hit your numbers, sell. But it was never like, well, how do you gain respect to customers so they trust you? So like that's one of the things, sphere of influence, like just giving, the go-giver, right? So like by you showing that you appreciate them by giving them something that maybe they didn't know before, or reaching out to help, not like a monetary or I'll be there at 5 o'clock to help you lift some packages, just like support goes like 10, like so much further than call me. Like, let's get your loan in. What are you doing? That company stinks. Like it's like, that's like never been even brought up here. How to sell. That's totally never even really been in it's like ideas to pass on to customers for information, but it's never like kill.
Yeah, that go-giver mentality is like huge when it's like, it's you offer them something that maybe they can't Google in 10 minutes, or they can't go to the store and pay $10 for a book on. Like it's that like personal touch, that like, hey, I can provide you information that you can't find anywhere else. Like that was huge, especially with like, pandemic and everything that changed with like loan rules and regulations and all the stuff that came up with.
Yeah, like I did a realtor lunch thing, and there was like 30 realtors on there, and I told them like you need to be reaching out to any listings you have, and they're like, well, what do you mean? And I said, unless they're buying cash their next home that you're selling their home, they're going somewhere, right? And if they're getting a mortgage, they're probably affected by that right now, because if you're not thinking about that, because you're just thinking that your house is going to sell, even if you're not the agent on their new home. And I had multiple realtors text me, thank me, because like they went into a forbearance because they're selling their home, and they just figured, well, if I'm selling my home, I'll save a couple months by just going to forbearance because the government's taking good. Well, at that time, you couldn't do forbearance, so they were like screwed to get their new home,
right?
And then they reached out and then nipped it in the butt, So like, I think that's what all about the culture here is, like just educating people and helping them get to where they want to go.
Is that your favorite part about the Princeton culture? What is your favorite part?
What's my favorite part?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a lot of things about the culture. What's like one thing you're like, you can hang your hat on at the end of the day?
Probably that. Probably just like do what you say you're gonna do. Because I screw up all the time, and there's totally days. It's like every day I probably don't do everything I want to do, but I hold myself accountable for it. And I mean I do it, but like it helps me self-reflection. That's all. No excuses.
No excuses. The goal of the goalie is to win the game or something like that. No excuses.
Yeah, he's just stopped it. So Rich's thing was, what's the job of the goalkeeper? And it was like, stop the ball. Like, no. The goal is to win the game. It's like, it's a two-sided answer, but I get it. The goal is to just, and I will agree. Josh touched on something today about like I look back and without even thinking about it, I send an email because we got a loan through in 2 weeks. And I didn't even use me or one time an email. I said thank you email to everybody in operations and CC'd Rich and Mark. And I'm just looking back at it, like I didn't even use me either. Mm-hmm. It was we. And I think that's what everybody here is. It's like I can't even, as frustrated as when I get sometimes, because it's like, why is my loan underwritten? Why is my loan processed yet? Or why isn't marketing getting my thing yet? No.
That's never
happens. It's always like, listen, everybody's doing what you're supposed to do. Just calm down. So, and there's always been calmness a bit, no matter how freaked out I get, because I'm an LO and I get freaked out. Freaked out. There's always calm. I never get it done.
What is the most inspiring customer story you've had since being a loan officer?
Well, it got me in trouble. It's funny that it's because so like inspiring. They're all inspiring. I mean, there's battles that we go through. There's one that we just closed last week where they got to the closing table, where the house was a mess. You know, you help them get through it, and you take it and you run with it. You don't wait for an attorney to get involved. Like, those are all success stories, which I like doing. And then, like, when they're in the house, thank you so much. They get the post-closing gift. They're all like success stories. But like, I got in trouble with a realtor. Won't mention any names or company. That like, I had this guy who been trying to buy a house for years. And he came to me, he was referred to me, and we had to do a couple things. We had to get his scores up, and he's a family New York guy, and I usually don't get along with New York guys, especially because of the accent, and they're Rangers fans and stuff. But immediately he was this tough New York guy, and like, he just trusted me. I was right up front with him. I was like, dude, your credit stinks. Because he's trying the rate. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about rate for? Rate? What do you care about rate? Like, your credit's this. Like, you should be focused on how to get into the house, and you can always refund. I give him the whole whatever. So we get it closed, and he's referred me now since then. But this past Christmas, we closed last August, he sends me a text message, and it's a picture of him in his Christmas car with his family, like 3 girls that he has, his wife in front of a tree in their house. And it's like, Merry Christmas. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. Thank you. And that to me was like, totally not even like we weren't texting. It was like totally random. This guy remembered to just send that text to me. And you're going to have to edit that probably, right?
After all that turmoil.
And he just remembered, and he sent, but that's so real. Because that's like true emotion. Like, this guy wasn't trash. He was like, great job. He just, he cursed, and it was like true, genuine feelings. So I took that. I took a picture of it and posted on Facebook. And I probably, if 100 people saw it, I got 98 thumbs ups. Awesome.
I'm sure.
Because it's real.
Yeah.
And I got into a realtor came up to me, and she's like, this is where the honesty hurts sometimes. She's like, I would take that down right now. And I said, well, why? And she said, because in a nutshell, she basically said, well, long story short, I heard that she was saying stuff.
I remember this now. Now this story is like resonating with me. I remember you telling me this.
Yeah, I heard she went to a manager somewhere, not our company, and I heard that she went to the manager. What's Fred posting this stuff? We can't be associated, blah, blah, blah. So I went to her and I said, blah, 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 blah. What? She's like, well, I did say something. I'm like, I'm coming to you because I heard this. I need to know this. What? And she's like, oh, my people don't affiliate with people like you because they don't do business with people that talk like that. And I was like, okay. Like, it bothered me that she was walking around trying to hurt, like search for like reasons why people shouldn't do business with me, and everybody was like, that's awesome. And she was the only one. And I love that's twofold. One, it puts somebody in their place to realize that, like, I don't need, like, that's fine. If you don't want to do business with me, then I'm not your one. And I think that's where we need to get into this company is, and what Mark preaches is, find your niche, find who you want to do relationships with, and just be a go-giver for those people. And
it's like what you said at the beginning of this call when you walked into that first mortgage office. I forget, going from Verizon to that mortgage office, you were like, everybody's in suit and ties, all tied up, and like the industry is so different now. Like, not everybody's wearing a suit every single day. It's not like this like well-behaved, put on this facade sort of thing. It's like people do say they keep it real, and that's
all it is. Keep it real, and like you got to have some class. I still like going settlements. with the old tie on, although that's, there's no settlements that we really go to, but like, I still like that look of it. But like, listen, at the end of the day, people are going to refer you because of how you treated their clients. Like, you're going to have relationships because you have relationships and buddies, but like business relationships are going to be, how dependable are you? And if you're fun to work with. And the constant thing I hear back from me, which is fine for me, I'm not the brightest, I'm not the sharpest, but like, people like doing business with Fred because they like Fred. And they like Fred because I like say what I'm going to do.
Right.
And when I get an email at 2 a.m. because I told them I'm going to get back to them that night, I'm doing it. So like, that's my, most positive thing. People, I hear that a bunch, and it's not saying patting myself on the back. It's just, I know that people still feel that way about me, that I know I'm doing something right.
Yeah. When you get a note like that in the mail and it's got like a family in the house that you help them get into, does that put things in perspective for you as like a loan officer? Like, wow, I'm helping these people's like lives. I'm helping them make the biggest purchase of their life. I'm putting them into a home with their family that they're going to spend Christmases with. Is that like, does that put things in perspective for you?
It just keeps me in check. Like, I like what I do. I think I'm good at what I do. I'm always learning something, but like, it also brings you down. Like, makes you feel wholesome that like you are doing what you should be doing. So yeah, of course.
I thought we were going to get tears. I thought we were going to get tears out of you there. So I was really trying. All right. Well, Fred, this has been awesome. This has been
Only
really.
If Flyers lose tonight is why.
Wow. Come on.
Right. But
you got Brian on here. Brian's a Rangers fan. His family's from Brooklyn. He's a Giants fan, and you've been like trashing them like all the.
No, I'm not trashing them. I'm just saying, like, I just don't. It's a whole. I remember this side note that you brought it up. I went to. You're a Giants fan, Brian?
That I am, yeah.
All right. So do you remember the McNabb game, the playoff game, Giants Stadium, the old Giants Stadium, where McNabb went to the sideline, went like this?
I do remember that one.
I was at that game, and I bleed green. I'm not like the obnoxious one, but like, we went into that stadium, and it was like it was a playoff game, and I'm just like looking around. We're a lower bowl. It was like all old timers there. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I stood up and clapped. Nobody said anything to me. I wasn't like in your face because I respect it, but I was like clapping. Nobody was like, sit down. Like, I'm like, what's going on up here? It was so weird for me. But I found that like, Giants fans are like the older, seasoned, generational, at the stadium at least, season ticket holders, where the Jets games are like Eagles fans, where they're kind of just like,
Giants fans, there's like usually no problems like at Giants games, but if you go to Philadelphia with the Giants,
always,
you're done.
Always. Anyway, sidetracked. But anyway.
All right, we just want you to close this out with one thing. We want you to say, this has been an effortless conversation with Fred Lahm. Lahm. What is it, Lahm or Lahm?
It's Lahm, like Phil Lahm, the soccer player.
All right, this has been an effortless conversation with Fred Lahm, and I'm on the journey to 50,000 loans.
All right. This has been an effortless conversation with Fred Lahm, and I'm on the journey to 50,000 loans.